Hello, lovelies, and welcome to another episode of Shit Loretta Knows. Just hang on a second. Loretta needs some lip balm. So today we're going to talk about how you can heal the world. So that's quite a statement to make, like how you can heal the world by Loretta Ferrucci. Well, I mean, of course, I don't have all the answers, but I have some ideas, and I know this, that if we don't take a stand, then we're never going to do anything. So this doesn't mean that other people's ideas of how we can heal the world are more valid than mine potentially, or that I'm prepared to entertain them. But these are my opinions. And so why does this even matter? Well, do you feel hopeless sometimes and helpless in the face of the shit that's going down in the world? I mean, when you think about the war in the Ukraine, if you think about the war in Israel, if you think about the other wars that we don't even talk about, does it make you feel hopeless and helpless because there's nothing you can do? When you think about world famine, when you think about the refugee crisis, when you think about the earth crisis, when you think about the environmental crisis, the environmental destruction, does it make you feel hopeless and helpless? Well, it makes me feel hopeless and helpless sometimes, because I think that those things are so far beyond my ability to influence that there's nothing that I can do. Well, that's not true. So if you think there's nothing you can do, then I want to tell you that that is not true, all right? Because there's a lot you can do. There's a lot that you can do that doesn't involve donating money or time or getting yourself to the front lines, right? Or any of your resources. There are more than 8 billion people on this planet. And if only a fraction of us did our internal housekeeping, we could change the world. And so you might think, oh, well, is that really going to work? Well, you know what? I think of it a bit like saving. If I say to you, save 100 Rand or $100 or 100 whatever every day, every month, the worst that can happen after 2 months or 3 months is that you're going to have some money in your savings. And if you don't have enough money, you can always take it out of your savings. So if you do the work on yourself, the worst that can happen is you can heal yourself. And the best that can happen is by healing yourself, you may just contribute to healing the world. So you've got nothing to lose, right? And such a lot to gain. As I said earlier, it's time to take a stand. It's time to take a stand for what it is that we believe in. It's time for us to take a stand and not just sit back and go, oh my God, the world is a hopeless place. Let's not have any children because we can't bring children into the world, or the world's not going to be good for my grandchildren. We can do that. We can throw our hands up in despair and say, oh, there's nothing we can do. Or we can take a stand. We can take a stand and we can actually pull our heads out of our asses and we can do something. And the thing that we can do is we can start healing ourselves. So there are a couple of premises that I'm going to discuss in this live. And the first is that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. I truly believe this to be true. Now, you might not agree with that, but I believe it's to be true. It's true. And if you're upset by wars, then you want to ask yourself, where am I at war with myself? Or with other people in my life? Now, you might say, well, what's the point? Well, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask, said Dr. John DeMartini. And the truth is, if you don't ask yourself these questions, you're never going to think about this. And if you don't think about it, you're never going to have the insights. So where are you at war with yourself? Where are you constantly sitting with inner turmoil? Where have you got head and heart conflicts? Your heart wants to go one way, your head wants to go somewhere else, right? Where are you at war outside of yourself? Where are you at war with your spouse, with your partner, with your colleagues, with other people, with, I don't know, whoever it is that you might be at war with? Because if you can start healing those wars, if you can start healing those turmoils, you are contributing to stopping all wars. If you're upset by famine, then ask yourself, where am I starving myself? Or what am I starved for? What am I not allowing myself to have? Where am I hoarding resources in one area and then starving myself in another? If you're concerned about pollution, then ask yourself, well, where am I killing off parts of my own self, my own ecology, right? Which parts am I killing? And so this is genocide. So pollution is, where am I polluting my body? Where am I polluting my thoughts? Where am I polluting my emotions? Now, not so that you can get all hard and heavy on yourself and like go on a massive guilt trip. It's just so that you can find information. So the truth is, if you are chucking shit down your throat, then you're polluting your body. That's not a moral judgment. It's not a you're a bad person. You don't have to make a story about it. It's just like, if you eat a lot of, I don't know, refined food or a lot of takeaways or whatever, and, or a lot of, if you consume a lot of chemicals, if you take a lot of over-the-counter medication, if you take a lot of medication, now maybe you need that medication. Again, it's no judgment. It's just, where are you polluting your ecology? And can you do something to minimize that pollution? What is it that you're allowing yourself to think? What kind of conversations are you engaging in? Do you gossip about other people? Do you delight in other people's misfortune? Do you love sensationalism? I don't know. Is that potentially for you a form of pollution? You might not think it is, which is fine. But where are you polluting your thoughts? Where are you polluting your emotions? Where are you polluting your body? Because when you pollute your physical body, you are polluting the earth. When you are polluting your emotions, it's like you're polluting the rivers. When you're polluting your mind, it's like you're polluting the air. And so what measures can you take to decrease that? Or do you even want to? So I'm just posing those questions so that we can get thinking about it. If genocide is what you abhor in the world, then ask yourself, where am I killing off parts of myself in order to be accepted, in order to get power, in order to make progress, in order to get validated? Where am I killing off the innocent parts of myself that are just actually trying to be? So 1 out of every 10 people in the world, there was a study done. Let me start by that. There was a study done of 22 million people. This was a study published in The Lancet. And it was discovered in the study that between 3 and 8% of the world's population suffers from some one or more autoimmune diseases. Now, autoimmune diseases are when your immune system erroneously recognizes a part of your body as a foreign substance or foreign proteins and attacks that part of your body. So autoimmune diseases include things like rheumatoid arthritis. You get an autoimmune form of a thyroid disease, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus erythematosus, some of the other neurological degenerative diseases, type 1 diabetes. Those are autoimmune diseases. So 1 out of every 10 people in the world is affected by an autoimmune disease. I forget what the statistic is, but if you've got one autoimmune disease, the chances of you getting more is even more extreme. Inflammatory bowel disease is also an autoimmune disease, like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. Those are autoimmune diseases also. So 3 to 8% of the world's population has autoimmune disease, and that's 1 in every 10 people has it in westernized kind of countries. And 80% of the people who have this is women. Now, what's that got to do with, where are you making your outer world as a reflection of your inner world? Well, your immune system is like the army of your body. It's like your own private army. It's supposed to keep the invaders out. It's supposed to protect you against invaders. So when you get an autoimmune disease, it's like your army is mutinying against you. Your army that's supposed to be defending you is actually attacking you and making you sick. How much more warlike do you want? So it's no coincidence that that autoimmune disease is on the rise and has risen unbelievably in the last 50 to 100 years, particularly in the last 50 years. And it's also not unusual that there's so much war and conflict on our planet. And not just war between countries, but war in families, war between corporations, war between spouses, war between friends, war between women and men. God, there's just war everywhere. And that is 100% reflected in our internal physiology. So the first premise is our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. The second one is that everything has gender. This is a Hermetic principle. And Hermetic principle was founded, long story, but essentially everything has a gender. Everything has a composite of masculine and feminine energy. Now, this is not man or woman. This is not the gender you identify with. This is a principle. There's a masculine principle or the feminine principle. The masculine principle is linear. It's logical. It is associated with aggression. It's associated with thinking. It's associated with light. It's associated with the sun. It's associated with doing. The feminine principle is circular, spiral, collaborative, intuitive, associated with emotions, dark, associated with the moon, and associated with being. Now, please don't get an impression that one of these is good and the other is bad. They're neither good nor bad. They just are. And those two function together symbiotically. They're supposed to function together symbiotically. However, you can have toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, right? Both words that are bandied about. Essentially, when you have an imbalanced expression of the masculine, that's when you get aggression. You get abuse of resources. You get domination, a need for power. When you have an excess, and that can only happen, that toxic masculinity can only happen when there is an excess of allowing, an excess of compromise, an excess of staying silent, and an excess of holding back, which is what the feminine then does under those circumstances. So we can rant and rave as women and feminists about toxic masculinity and about the patriarchy. You know me, I'm on my soapbox about the patriarchy often. The patriarchy wouldn't exist if the feminine didn't allow it. And so it is the combination of that male and female symbiosis. When that balance goes out of whack, that is when we start having internal and external wars. So I've said this before, but the part of your nervous system that governs all the automatic functions of your body is called the autonomic nervous system. And it consists of two parts: your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetic nervous system is the doing part. It's associated with movement. It's associated with work. It's active. It's associated in its extreme version. When it's extremely activated, it's associated with a fight, flight, or fawn response. Your parasympathetic nervous system is more relaxing. It's about stillness. It's about rest. It's about passivity. It's about digesting. It's rest and restore and digest. Now, that might sound amazing, but can you imagine if your whole life was about rest, restore, and digest? You never got to do anything in the world. You never got to get anywhere. You never ever got to meet a goal. You never ever got to meet a deadline. You were never motivated to actually just get out into the world and do something. So again, it's not that the one is good and the other's bad. They're just the opposing principles. They are the feminine and the masculine. So when they are working optimally in the body, you'd have this kind of scenario. Your feminine gets the intuitive impulse. The feminine is the one that listens. The feminine is the one that can respond to signals from our intuition or from our body. So for example, you feel hungry. Your feminine will perceive, I require nourishment. I'm hungry. And the masculine aspect will go and make you a sandwich. Or the feminine will have a dream and the masculine aspect will help you interpret the dream. Or the feminine will have a vision of what she'd love to create, and she'll receive an intuitive hit on what action is going to help to get her closer, and the masculine helps her take the action. Without the masculine and the feminine working in harmony, we would never get any rest and we would never get anything done. So, when we want to create healing, when we want to create healing in our bodies, when we want to create healing in our lives, when we heal our autoimmune disease or our cancer is another good example of war in your body. Your immune system is supposed to actually find abnormal cells. When your immune system turns a blind eye to an abnormality for whatever reason, that abnormality gets to grow, and then the tumor basically outcompetes your ability to live. And ultimately, the cancer kills the host. It's the ultimate war, really, all right? And again, it's because your own army are not actually, it's different to an autoimmune disease, but it also involves the army. It involves the army turning a blind eye and allowing the enemy to get in. Autoimmune disease is the army sees the body as the enemy. So it's different. There are different underlying reasons for why that happens. But they are both aggressive, warlike conditions. And medically, they're treated aggressively and in a warlike way. So again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have these treatments. It's just that the treatments are aggressive. They're very masculine. Chemotherapy is an incredibly aggressive treatment. Radiation is a very violent, aggressive treatment, right? I've heard stories from patients about some oncologists that they've had to deal with, and not all of them, but that the oncologists have got no bedside manner. Well, I always say, just spare a thought for someone who works in a field where you're dealing with a disease that you actually can't cure, and inevitably almost 90% of your patients are going to die. You've got to actually armor up against that, which doesn't make it easier for the patient, right, that is dealing with a doctor that has no bedside manner. But even that is aggressive. It's very masculine, isn't it? And it's very, it's aggressive. It's very warlike. Autoimmune disease can only be treated with cortisone and immunosuppressive drugs. And some of those immunosuppressive drugs have got hectic side effects. It's aggressive. In order to control one area, you've actually got to make yourself sick somewhere else. So it's violent. There's nothing gentle or nurturing or accepting about how these diseases are treated in our Western medical paradigm. So if we want to create health, then we want our feminine to help us to connect to our limitless spirit. We want our feminine to receive the intuitive response from our spirit in terms of what it is, that the vision. We want to connect to the vision of the kind of health we'd love to create. We want to get the intuitive hit as to what step is going to be the right step for us. And then we want our masculine to actually act on it. That is how we use the masculine and the feminine in their best expression in order to create what we would love. And life is longing to express itself through you. You are a vehicle for the expression of life. Life wants to express itself through you uniquely and fully. And it can only do that when your masculine and your feminine are working in harmony. When you are constantly bashing your feminine, telling yourself to stop being so irrational when you're emotional, telling yourself to put on your big girl pants and soldier on, suppressing your emotions, hiding how you really feel, not acknowledging your needs, not asking for what you want, always being stoic, being strong, never weak. What you're doing is you're allowing your masculine to completely dominate your feminine. And so what happens is your feminine can only be heard when she's sly and manipulative and underhand. And what could be more sly and underhand and demoralizing than being chronically ill? I can't think of too much worse than that, to tell you the truth. I've just been acutely ill since Wednesday, right? So I came back from this retreat. I swam in the fucking river. It was freezing cold in the evening. I went into the river after a sweat lodge 2 nights in a row, blah, blah. And I end up with this pharyngitis, this really sore throat. And my God, it was just dreadful. And the snot, and it's disturbing my sleep. And my back was sore from sitting on the floor all week. And I hurt my knee, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it's like, oh God, I'm not living my best life. And this is not even like a chronic disease. This is just something that's going to go away. I'm already feeling a whole lot better. I'm almost completely okay. So how much more debilitating when you have that chronic disease label? Examples of the toxic masculine is aggression, controlling, punishing, dictatorial. You will do it this way. Logical, no feeling, cold, overpowering. You must, you ought, you should, you need to. If you didn't do it, you're stupid. You see, it's your own fault. And bummer that, okay, bashing, that corporal punishment, that voice in your head that's continuously punishing yourself. That's the toxic masculine. The toxic feminine, she becomes hopeless and helpless and just needs someone to rescue her. Or she becomes manipulative and sneaky. Or she becomes seductive so that she can get what she wants, so that she can manipulate, right? Or she becomes passively aggressive. So we don't only have toxic masculinity. We've got toxic masculinity and we've got toxic femininity. Both of them are alive and well. So before we can create peace within ourselves, whether that is a disease that you're trying to heal, or inner turmoil, or emotions that a betrayal or something that you're trying to get over, before we can heal, we have to get real with what's true for us. We have to get real with what's actually going on. We are so keen to move on to the love and light healing part, but we don't want to deal with the dark, messy parts because we don't want to face the truth. And the reason why this is so hard to do is not because finding what your underlying limiting belief is that's holding you back is so painful. It's because of the story that you tell because of it. So when I discover that I can only be loved for not for who I am, I have to pretend to be something other than me in order to be loved, okay? And I discover this. The pain is not about discovering that. The pain is about, oh my God, how could I be so stupid? Why have I never seen that before? How did I allow that to railroad me? That's what we project onto it. And that's why people don't want to do this. People are reluctant to do this work. We were talking in our coaching group the other day, who do you work with? Well, I work with people who have chronic disease labels. But I also, you know what the truth is? I would love to work with people who don't have chronic disease labels, but who actually want to optimize their health before they get sick. Problem is that most people aren't in a place where they're prepared to go there until they get sick, which is fine. I'm happy to either get them on the sick side of the spectrum or to get them before they're sick so that we can keep them healthy so that when they do get sick, and if that should happen, they have the tools in order to be resilient and in order to heal themselves. But we've really got to get real with where we are. Why are we where we are, and what does it actually mean? So, remember, whatever you discover about yourself is neutral. It doesn't mean anything. It's like a GPS telling you you've taken the wrong off-ramp. It's all information to help you create what you would love, the healing that you would love in your life. So, a basic premise of the creative orientation is that we create everything. So when you create amazing things, you've created it. When you create things that are not so amazing to you, well, you've created it. Now, you can make a big story about that. If I create what I don't love, then it's because I'm not good enough and I don't deserve to be loved. And you can play that tune if you want to. Or you can say, well, I'm a creator. If I'm creating what I don't like, why would I be doing that? The only reason why you'd be doing that is because you have some sort of unconscious egoic agenda that's trying to keep you safe. And the more you work at uncovering that, the more liberated you will become. So I've identified 4 factors that I believe are required for healing. Now, there probably are a whole lot more of them, but these are the 4 that came to me this morning. And the first one is understanding. You can't understand what you don't know. So the Oracle of Delphi, apparently written above the Oracle of Delphi, it said, know thyself. That was the advice from the Oracle. Know thyself. Because if you don't understand or know yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to create peace in your life or to create healing in your body. So Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. When the converse of that would be when you make the unconscious conscious, then it will stop ruling your life and you will no longer be submitting to the vagaries of fate, because you will step into the power of being your conscious creator of what you would love, right? So making the unconscious conscious involves uncovering your limiting beliefs, uncovering those stories that are running your life, seeing which parts of your life you are not happy with and you would like to change, and then finding out what is the unconscious pattern that's running that, right? And in order for that to happen, you need to be prepared to get to know yourself, get to know what's happening unconsciously and make it conscious. Now, of course, that is the part that I love most about the work that I do, and I would love to help you do that if you feel that you need help in that department. The second thing that we need for healing and to heal the world is acceptance. Heal ourselves and heal the world. So the reality of who you are is accepting the reality of who you are. You don't have to love what you find, you just have to accept it. It is what it is. It's like looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing, oh my God, I'm 20, or standing on a scale and seeing I'm 20 kilograms overweight. Just accept that for what it is. What it means is you weigh 20 kilograms more than some arbitrary table told you is your ideal weight. That's actually the truth. Everything else, I'm a slob, I'm fat, I'm ugly, no one will love me, I can't be accepted. Those are all stories that you're making up in your mind about the facts. So how do you accept yourself? Well, the first thing you can do is you can accept that, or you can adopt this. You can try it out, okay? That everyone that you meet in your life is mirroring your disowned parts to you. When you meet someone that you don't like, identify exactly what it is that they do or a character trait that they have that you dislike, and then ask yourself, where do you have that? Where do you have that? Find examples, real memories in your life where you have exhibited that trait. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I identify that someone is stingy. They're stingy with money. And, they've got a lot of money, let's say, and they don't want to donate any of their money to my MPO. And I'm like, yeah, fucking stingy, rich bastard, okay? So the question is, where am I stingy? Now, I may be extremely generous with my money, but where am I stingy? Now, I could actually ask myself, where am I stingy with money? I'm socially stingy with money. I don't spend money on fancy presents for people. I don't spend lots of money on entertainment and going out because it's not a value for me. Where am I stingy in other areas of my life? Well, I'm very stingy with my time. I'm stingy with my time and I'm stingy with my energy. I actually am. Even towards the people that I love. And I can find real memories where I can demonstrate that that's the truth. And it's really important that you find real memories, because otherwise it just becomes like an intellectual exercise. Oh yeah, I'm also stingy. When you find real memories where you have been stingy and you can own that stingy is who you are, what happens is you no longer are like being quite so, that person's so stingy and I'm therefore so virtuous. You're like, oh my God, I'm just as stingy as that person, which means that that person no longer annoys you. And you integrate a part of yourself that you were blind to. When you see something that you admire in someone else, identify what it is. Exactly what is it? They're confident. Okay, what are they confident about? Where are they confident, right? Okay, how do you see that confidence? Maybe they're good speakers. I don't know. Ask yourself, where do you communicate clearly? Memories. Where and when have you communicated something clearly, and how did that benefit you and everyone else involved? Because as soon as you do that, you're like, oh my God, I'm actually also quite a good communicator, but I am judging myself based on the form that that person has it in. And I have it in a different form, but I have it. And I have it to the same extent. So when you do this, acceptance of yourself becomes so much easier. Acceptance is also accepting your diseased parts. Now, people think that when they accept their diseased parts, when I accept my, 20 kilograms of weight that I want to shift, it means I'm happy to keep it. No, you might not be happy to keep it, but you can accept that this is what it is like. So I could be living in my house and I could accept that this is a very comfortable, beautiful house, but I might be dreaming for a different kind of house in another place. That doesn't mean I hate this house. It also doesn't mean I can't have the other house. It just means that the house that I've currently got is the house that I've got. Until I sell this house and move out of it and buy the next house, okay? So when we can accept the reality of our diseased parts, when we can accept what our diseased parts are giving us, because they always are giving us something, that's when we truly step into acceptance, not only of ourselves, but acceptance of others, which means that you stop the war within yourself and you stop the war outside of yourself. The next one is empathy. So that's number 3, right? So how much empathy do you have for yourself when you think you fucked something up? How do you speak to yourself when you think you failed at something? Because I can tell you now, it's not like, oh, well, I see you and I'm standing in the gap for you and I'm holding space for you. And you know what, Rita, it's okay for you to feel like a failure and, really feel your feelings. And I'm here for you and I'll be here for you for as long as you need me. No. We don't talk to ourselves like that when we think we fucked something up, right? We berate ourselves. We blame ourselves. We lay on the guilt. We lash ourselves with the shame, all right? Can you allow yourself to feel the way you feel without making a story about it or without it turning into a judgment of yourself? I feel sad because I'm so weak and because I'm an empath and because the world is so hard, or, oh my God, because life's so unfair. Can you just say, I'm sad? I'm sad. And I'm going to allow myself to just be sad. Can you be empathetic enough with yourself to just allow yourself to feel your feelings? All right? How well do you meet your own needs? I think that that's empathy. Me understanding what you need and offering to give you what you need, if that suits me, if that is within my wheelhouse and it's within my boundaries, and I think it serves me. Can you give yourself what you need? Can you even acknowledge the truth of what you need? Most of us can't do that because our underlying beliefs of not being good enough or not being worthy are all related to, are all around why we can't have what we want. Basically, they're all around we're bad, therefore we can't have what we want. So can you be empathetic for yourself? Can you ask yourself? Can you ask someone else or yourself for what you want without judging that? That is true empathy. Can you start practicing that? Because you can. You can start noticing how you don't do it, and then you can choose to do it differently. And the fourth one is connection. So, we can only connect to others to the degree that we can connect to ourselves. So how connected are you to you? You think you're really connected to you. I have to tell you, in my experience, or my own experience and my experience that I've seen with hundreds, if not thousands of patients, is we are completely disconnected from ourselves, right? We could disconnected from the truth of what's going on with us. We're disconnected from our intuition. We don't listen to it. We don't even know we have it, most of us. We are disconnected from our bodies. We're disconnected from the signals that we get every single day from our bodies. We might hear them, but we're completely detached from them. So how connected are you to your body, your thoughts and your feelings? How in tune are you with your emotions? Your emotions are your thoughts made physical. How good are you at listening to your intuition? Do you even know what that sounds like or what that entails? How much do you listen to yourself? When you're hungry, do you eat? When you're tired, do you rest? When your bandwidth is done, do you get yourself out into nature? When your body is crying for movement, do you move it? When you need sleep, do you sleep? When you are longing for touch, do you ask someone to touch you, or do you just touch yourself? Okay. Do you actually do that? When your intuition is whispering in your ear, do you listen to what it says? And if you might listen to it, and then do you just discount it immediately? Because all of those things are signs of connection. Your intuition is the way in which your spirit communicates with you. So there were a lot of questions in this. I would recommend that if you found this useful, you go and listen to this live again and ask yourself these questions. And you can journal about them. You can just ask yourself a different question every day and see what comes up. And just observe it. Observe it. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, I get that. Okay, maybe now that's something that was in my unconscious that I wasn't aware of. And now it's become conscious. This is the way in which we heal the world, my friends. We start off by healing ourselves. We start off by asking ourselves the difficult questions. We start off by putting on the armor of courage in ourselves. The courage to go and explore where no man has been before, or woman, is deep in the recesses of who you are. And here's the thing, you're never going to define anything that's so awful that you can't deal with it. I promise you. And in fact, you're not even going to find anything you don't know. You're just, once you've seen it, you're like, oh, fuck, that was so obvious. Like, so obvious. I find this happening with myself all the time. It was so obvious. So I used to go, that was so obvious. How could you be so stupid to miss it? I don't do that anymore. Look, that was so obvious. So happy that I found it now. Because I can now use this to create what I would love. So this is how I help people heal themselves. And I truly believe that when we heal ourselves, when we heal our diseased parts, whether those are our diseased bodies, whether those are our diseased relationships, whether those are our diseased inner children that we've never taken care of, that is when we collectively start healing the world. So we are not hopeless and we are not helpless. We all have access to ourselves. You have this wonderful resource. It's right here. So if you are ready to step into your power, if you are ready to uncover what is driving you unconsciously and making you sick, or if you don't want to get sick and you want to uncover that shit so that your body doesn't have to show it to you down the line, then I would love to be your coach. So I have got 3 coaching spots open in November. I know a lot of people are going, oh, it's the end of the year. You know what? There's never as good a time as now, my friends, right? The best time is always now, because I've had this a thousand times. I've had this also numerous times. People go, oh, yeah, no, I'll do it in January. And then in January, they don't have money. And then in February, they have another excuse. So just know that if you can't do it in November, you probably can't do it in January or February or March, okay? And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if you feel called to do it, I would love to be your guide on your healing journey. So you can contact me. You can send me a DM. I'd love to hear your comments on this live. Let me know if it made sense to you, if it resonated with you, or if it didn't. I will upload this onto YouTube, and then I will put the YouTube link in the comments. And I would love it if you would share this with any of your friends that you think would find it valuable, and invite them to join Vitality Matters. I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. And thank you so much for being with me on Shit Loretta Knows. I see I've run over time today, but I haven't done this for a little while, so I'm allowed a little bit of leeway. I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday, and I'll see you next week. I might not see you next week. I've got Kula next week, but I may actually do the live from Kula next week. So more Shit Loretta Knows coming up next week. On Thursday, I will be putting up a clip on thyroid disorders. What are the energetic, the emotional, the unconscious agendas behind problems with the thyroid gland? Thank you so much for watching. If you are watching live, please type live. If you're watching the replay, please type replay.